Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode, first in a long time, of the Performance Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Will Fleming. I'm here with my other host, Coach Robert Dose from Medios. Dose, what's up, man?
Hey, wow. This is, first of all, been a long time.
Yeah.
Secondly, we're on video now.
We're stepping it up. How about that?
We're stepping it up. I don't know if people actually want to look at this dome. Look at this thing.
Maybe they're there. They're gonna love it because your backyard's beautiful.
Yeah, I got a little. We got a little California summer action here.
Yeah,
this is
nice.
not. It was not planned at all. By the way, I forgot we were doing video, and I was like in bed, getting ready to do a podcast, and then just came outside on the balcony. So
Dose is we will have a segment of Dose in bed recording the podcast, but that's for a different time.
That would be like the segment will be like when we have like the really
members only,
and like really risque kind of questions.
Yeah. So what's been up, man? I mean, we talk all the time, but tell the people who are still tuning in, or maybe not tuning in, but tell them what's been going on.
Oh man, we've been up to. I mean, I know you've been up to a ton of stuff. I've been traveling around a lot, doing a lot of staff trainings and Perform Better stuff, and then our summits, right? I mean, I think our summits were amazing this year. We had 3 this year, right? We took one to California over at Matt Durant's place. That was the biggest one, I believe, wasn't it? Wasn't it like? But oh no, Jersey's the biggest one.
Yeah, Jersey's the biggest.
We were like 225 people or something in Jersey, and I still think we can probably still keep putting a little more people in your place.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
It seems totally doable. The hands-on is the part that kind of gets hairy, but
right.
When we use your space, we use all your space, which is awesome. But maybe we'll move out to your parking lot at some point out there.
Potentially, if we have good weather, right? So
yeah. The weather was great.
It was great this year. So
I'm telling you, that's a great town, man.
Oh,
I think it's
right?
I would have never, right? I mean, when would I have ever really gone to Bloomington?
Exactly.
If it wasn't for you and the summit.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's to drink beers.
Yeah, it's a good place to drink beers. Got good vegan food for you.
Yeah, got way more vegan spots there than here. We're in my little conservative town in Southern California.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. So, and you just came out with the Certified Program Design Specialist with the NSPA, right?
Yeah, we did that. It went really well. Kind of started a little slow, got us a little bit scared, but it really made a big, strong finish there, and still a lot of interest in it right now. And I think part of the interest is, and that's kind of what I wanted to tease with a little bit, is where we're going to go with this, and you're a part of this as well with the NSPA, the Sports Performance Association, that we're putting together to house the certs there and have it be a separate entity, from the Athletes Acceleration and the Speed Summits and all that. So we're actually going to have an annual conference that we're actually planning one for late January, and right now we're kind of focusing in on Texas, maybe Austin right now.
Yeah,
which would be pretty cool. But I think one of the things that's intriguing a lot of people is this concept of this master certification. And I know Pat Beath had teased it a little bit here and there. And I know Chris Moore is wrapping up his cert right now, his nutrition cert. So basically the nutrition cert, your weightlifting cert, Lee Taft's speed and agility cert, and then my program design. If somebody passes all 4 of those certs, they'll be able to sit for actual hands-on master certification that you, I, Chris, and Lee will actually do hands-on the day before the NSPA event.
Yeah,
so we'll have our first class of people in Texas.
I think it's going to be
incredible. Honestly, like as somebody, we're both CSCS. I'm CSCCA, and I've said this, and I love the organizations, especially the CSCCA, from being a collegiate strength coach. But that's a pretty rigorous one, right? That's basically the CSCS written exam. 680 hours of supervised internship, and then the hands-on.
Yeah. So,
this doesn't have that internship part, but it's going to have, 4 pretty detailed components, and then the hands-on. I'm not, for people that are like a little bit wary of tests, it's a little scary to do a hands-on in general.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's really your chance, to sit with you, for 15, 20 minutes and go through, hey, can you show me the setup, of a hang clean? Can you show me the performance of, the French squat, whatever it is that you're trying to do, or a jerk or something, to have to demonstrate, we talk about mastering your craft and being able to teach it. Like understanding it's one thing, being able to teach it, cue it, correct it is going to be something else. So
absolutely,
it's pretty cool, and I know a lot of people are pretty fired up about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for that event and for that first group that will be able to go through the master strength or master coach.
Well, and honestly, like the cool thing is, it's kind of like the CSCCA with their master strength and conditioning coach. That was more or less like when you did your time, when you got your amount of years, then you got the jacket. But this one's like, say we have six or seven people the first year. I mean, literally on your certificate, it's going to say number 6, number 9, number 13, number 29, like in the world. And people all over the world are taking these certs. So obviously we got to deal with the logistics of being able to move it around places so that people can get to it. But I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty exciting. I told Pat, I think it's going a lot faster than we even, would have thought, for sure.
Yeah.
Close to 100 people have all the certs that are existing right now already.
Really?
Have passed them. Yeah.
So, and then adding the nutrition cert when that comes out, whatever that number comes to, they would be the first people eligible. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the goal would be for us to obviously offer that master deal, perhaps even the day before the speed summits.
Maybe I can be the number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll pass myself on the test.
So what's going on with you? I know you've been doing some. I saw you were in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
How was that?
I did a seminar recently. I'd kind of hung up the seminar wheels for a little bit because it's just really a crowded field, right? And weightlifting, it's like you go to one national championships and then you say, hey, welcome to my weightlifting seminar, man. And there's dudes out there charging $25 for an 8-hour day of like weightlifting, and it's like, no, I'm not doing that, right? So I was like, how am I going to compete? But I really think that I've put together, in the course of putting together the certified weightlifting performance coach, and Pat did a really cool thing where he said anybody who takes my live 2-day could go take the exam as well for just like a pretty small add-on fee to like kind of cover the fact of having an exam. So so we were able to do that, and so that was really nice. So these people are going to be able to come away. Yeah, they're going to be able to come away from it with a certified weightlifting performance coach credential. And but I mean, it was kind of, how it is, right? Like you've always said it. It's not. Sometimes you learn something new, and you're like, yeah, I gotta figure out how to fit this in when I'm teaching, right? Like it's not like, bad coaches say, I learned something new. That's wrong, right? That doesn't fit in with me, right? But instead, like if you're open to it, so I put that together a year and a half ago, and I'm a better coach today than I was a year and a half ago or a year ago. So we added some cool stuff in there, and so I was really, really pleased with just the course or the 2-day seminar that I was able to do in a live format. We were able to cover all the CWPC stuff, but also go in a little deeper because the crowd that was there were actually a little more competitive weightlifting based as opposed to performance coach. So
I was going to say,
talking to different crowds, right? So the weightlifting coach wanted to know what are specific corrections for really tiny little things, and so we have a way that we look at different exercises to categorize them, so how they fix an error, and so we were able to go through that, which is really, really cool. I was pumped about it. It was really cool. Brooklyn Athletic Club, if you haven't been there, is one of the coolest gyms I've ever been to.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And Josh Hankins, really good friends with the owner Larry Betts, and a friend of mine, Paul Costas, asked me to come out, and so we had a cool crowd. And Brooklyn's a neat place, like totally different than even when I went there 2 years ago to do a seminar. So.
It's way cool. It's pretty hip.
Yeah, right? It's really hip, and they're right in the hippest part. They're right in the middle of Williamsburg. So.
That's beer central over there.
Yeah, ironic mustache, man buns, all of it. Right?
Yeah. Oh man, I've been seeing a lot more man buns lately.
Yeah,
I mean, where was I just at? Well, obviously in Europe.
Portland.
I saw a few of those. But even in Manhattan, just coming out that weekend, I saw. And guys don't really have enough hair for the butt to even cut it. They're fighting to try to get that little nub in there.
It really, really pulls on the scalp. So.
I mean, you might have a chance to maybe get one in the front, but
yeah,
right. I mean, that's work right there. You can get one in the front. I think going back to the weightlifting thing, that's the thing that I don't think people get sometimes is how complicated. Well, I don't want to use that word complicated. How detailed
It can be, yeah.
Because you can learn the basics, and I feel like I'm there just at the very, very, surface level, but like even yourself to go through, obviously you're extremely proficient at all those stuff, but then being able to just go back and reflect and look at your lifters, or have your lifters even look at you and give you the feedback like, hey, that bar is getting away from you here, or something. Like, there's so many nuances to it that it's not like you can just take a USAW and be like, I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
It's like anything in this field. I think it's just constant evolution, right? You got to keep getting better at it and keep down, or you don't care about it.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, right?
We, at the New Jersey Power Summit, right? Speed and Power Summit, I spoke to a coach, and they were, oh my gosh, this is so much different than how I teach. I'm really glad to learn it, right? Because I learned it from so-and-so and so-and-so, who are well-respected people, but it was just like, how you teach, how people were teaching in the United States like 15, 20 years ago, right? As opposed to newer stuff. So it's like anything, right? When you start to get, you want to be a generalist and that you want to know, have all your bases covered, but I think then you start being like you can really specialize. Like you just think about Josh Hankins' knowledge when it comes to sandbags, and he could go teach you the basis of DVRT in a weekend, and he does that constantly, and people take courses. But then he's just all the time thinking of something new and new protocols, new ways to use it, so you can go programming, new ways to move, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Josh is that way. I mean, he's super, super intelligent, so he always tries to downplay that.
Yeah, right.
Even when we talk or whatever, or go through our little epic group chat, but he's honestly one of the smartest people. Alan Cosgrove and I talk about that all the time.
Insane.
We really talk about like who are some of the smartest guys, and and people don't realize Josh's background. I think we talked about it when we had him on, but he was in one of the very first RKC groups. Mm-hmm. He was one of the very first CrossFit groups. I mean, so here's a guy that can make these. Sometimes people make judgment on things, but I mean, he's done it. He's done hardcore strongman competitions, done Olympic lifting. He's done basically everything, to the point where I think that's what makes him so good at what he does now, is being able to sit back, and then with Jessica, his wife, having that physical therapy background to be able to do that, and then him coming off of injuries and dealing with regressions and movements that somebody that's injured badly injured can work their way back to. It's pretty miraculous, just the physical transformation he's made from people essentially saying you're barely gonna be able to walk to doing the stuff that he's doing now.
Exactly. So. Yeah. I mean, it's just like that. Got to know like the general, and then you dive in and you go, right? The stuff. Yeah. I mean, you were just in New York, in Manhattan, teaching at Equinox some kind of some of the CST ideas from cardio strength training, but evolved even, right?
Yeah, and I taught CST for years, with the trainers, because they had their programming set, like their lifting was set, like they had it dialed in, right? And then, what can we do? So the concept is that they're like, so they're saying, well, do I do different sessions with my client where we just do these metabolic circuits, or am I supposed to try to do a little 15 minutes of this each time? Like, so I think the concept, and it's stuff that Josh and I have been working on too, is this concept of like taking that concept of density training, right? Where we're loading and going like strength hypertrophy, like changing the function and the shape and the size of your muscle, but doing it under a little bit of more like metabolic duress, right? So like the concept of metabolic resistance training. So that's what I'm trying to. That was one of the things I was going to talk about. Was like, that's a question that I just did a vlog on for my site, but I had a good question, because I think you can throw a blanket over 99% of the population as far as they come in it for training, or they come in to be your clients at Equinox or your gym, and you'll say, what are your goals? I want to get fit. I want to lose fat. I want to lose weight. I want to tone, right? I want to change the shape of my body, but I feel better, get more energy, fit into these jeans, whatever it is. So I always say, like, time's the number one factor. You're not going to have them 168 hours a week. You got them for 3. You got them for 3 1-hour sessions. You don't really, it shouldn't even be on straight lifting sessions, or straight sets, or straight lifting sessions without that metabolic component. Shouldn't even be on the table. Yeah. Because, unless, like I say, when is it on the table? It's on the table when you have a client that has no issue with body fat. Yeah. Right? Doesn't want it. Maybe it's hard gainer guy that just like, I just want to get bigger. Yep. So you're trying to get him to eat more. You're trying to get him to dial in his diet, and then you're trying to get him to lift heavier and, a little more volume. But think about how often that happens. Think about how often in your hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients that you would see over the course of the year, like how often does that happen, right? About as often as somebody saying, I just want you to get my bench bigger. But, for the most part, when bang for your buck's going to be essential. The second one is if I'm a coach, right? I'm a strength coach and I have football 4 1-hour sessions in the weight room, but I also have 5 days a week I can run them outside at a different time at the enterprise, so I can work energy system stuff, conditioning then. But in the real world, we don't. So I always say it's like, say you have a client at your place, right? And you have them 3 times a week. One of your trainers has them 3 times a week. It's a fat loss fitness client. You go through, you work your mobility, right? You get them ready to go. You get them to move better, right? You teach them function, movement, prep, all that stuff. You go through a good strength, power, metabolic kind of cycle. But then you say, hey, what are you doing on the other days, right? Because you can't, that's not, the equation isn't just the 3 hours. It's got to be, you want them doing something every day. And if they love to play tennis or they love to run or they love to bike or take that spin class or take that Zumba class, those are all things we talk about, like adding into that, work capacity bucket, right? We're just throwing change in there, even if it's just, hey, I'm going to try to log 10,000 steps a day, just throwing dimes in there, right?
Exactly.
But maybe you're throwing dollar bills in there when you're doing those crazy, density style sessions or something. So I think that's one of the things, that we tend to have the continuum, but then we tend to either go, let's just lift really heavy stuff, or let's just go burpees and mountain climbers and crawling and
sprint for 50 seconds, rest for 10.
50 10s.
Yeah.
That's my favorite protocol for foam rolling. That's about it. But yeah, I think that that's kind of, it's amazing to me, but we do that with everything in this field. We have a hard time coming to the middle of any continuum. We always want to go to one end or the other. We went from lifting really heavy stuff to not lifting everything and anything and getting unbalanced and getting on balance boards and, AirX pads and everything else, and then saying that's horrible, that's functional training, and that's why we bastardize that term. Now we go back to lifting heavy stuff. So we're just always trying to find the middle.
Yeah, right. I think everything old is new again at some point, right? So
exactly.
Really the only way to truly innovate is try and get to the middle, right?
Yeah.
Get to the middle and find the best of all of it.
Like Alan Cosgrove posted something the other day of a book that he had, from the 50s or 60s, might have been earlier than that, right? And it was like unilateral training.
Yeah.
And it's always emphasis on unilateral training in different planes, and you're like, I thought we made that up, right?
Right. Nobody invented any exercises, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's completely true.
So people who claim they invented an exercise are that's not true. Seriously, because you can always find stuff. I have this like Notre Dame football training guide or something like that from, I don't know, 1971, and they're doing stuff that you do today. They're doing stuff you don't do today, right? There's a high emphasis on donkey calf races, right?
I've done that. I've done a lot of those on my day with my 300-pound buddy sitting on my hips while I was doing the.
The best thing about that book is I'll have to dig it up and maybe I can take a screenshot. It might be in that bookshelf behind me. But the whole book, the guys are exercising in Speedos basically.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah. It's like maybe so that they can demonstrate better or something, but these are
I think they actually train like that.
These dudes, whoever they were playing for Notre Dame, I'd love to know who they were. They were monsters. Like that Site 70s big, right? They're not manscaping. They're fully hairy, but they're just huge, right?
Exactly.
Just monsters. So
pre like really good concepts of nutrition and recovery and workloads, right? Like,
but also don't just take steroids all the time.
Pre-testing.
Yeah. Post. Oh, these steroids make me better, right? But pre-testing. So these guys are
chewing a lot of liver tablets and those little blue pills.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean everything comes back around. Even the donkey calf raise will probably show up on somebody's Instagram feed, and they'll be the calf guy or something, right?
So, absolutely. So, I just saw something about I don't know if maybe I looked at it wrong, but it was something about. I don't want to say it was Sorinex. It was a company or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm all mixed up. Maybe I dreamt this. because I can't place it. But it was something. It was the guy doing like a seated calf. It was like a seated calf raise machine.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the Soleus is coming back in style or something. Maybe, I don't know.
The gastrock's gotten its day.
Gastrock's getting too big.
That's so 90s, man.
It's way too functional.
Yeah, exactly. So, we had another topic we were going to kind of go into.
Oh, I think we said like, okay, it's been a long time since we used to always go, oh man, what's bugging us today? What did we see? There's a couple things, right? And I think we even talked about this on our last one. We did do one in the middle there somewhere where we were like, we're making a comeback.
Yeah, I think, and we should kind of say why we're making a comeback, right?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so the podcasting game is pretty crowded, right? And we've had like
everybody's got a podcast.
Everybody's got a podcast.
The little skater kid down the cul-de-sac over there, he's got a podcast, and he saw me working out the other day, and he wants to have me on his podcast.
No, really? Oh.
Yeah, he's got like 32 followers on Twitter, so it might be pretty good for my business.
Yeah, we got a kid who works out in the gym who's like has his own business cards, and he's got his own YouTube channel.
Well, that could be, sometimes I know Chad's got a couple of guys in his gym. Has he ever told you about that are just like YouTube
real like actual famous?
Like epic stuff.
Really?
Like dynasty stuff, man. Like
wow.
Big time. Yeah, millions of followers.
This kid's cracking 100, but he's doing all right? He's like 11. So, but
exactly.
Yeah, what's that?
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's trying to make a buck, right? So everybody's got a podcast, and we started 4 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So and we loved it. We've always enjoyed putting our podcast. We've enjoyed putting our podcast together. The thing is, it was like a money hole, right? Like, so the amount of time coming in and all that kind of stuff would like just kind of be like, what are we doing this for, right? We had a really great listener base. We've been on the top of iTunes health and fitness before, so we have a ton of awesome listeners. Thank you very much. And we get a ton of requests to bring it back. We've just been trying to have the impetus to do it. So we're rounding up sponsors, and I think we're gonna be ready to go consistently because there's actually something in it for us. Dose and we can text and talk on the phone all the time, right? So like the conversation between us and call people up and talk to them and email them and stuff like that. So so it's just we're excited to do it because I think we're going to be able to make it sustainable, and we're not going to like set crazy expectations to do it. So anyways,
yeah, I think sometimes people, I get it. If we're just stay-at-home guy that this is our job, I get it, but like we're not making the kind of money that some of these, like Joe Rogan has these 2-hour-long ones. I mean, those guys are making bank.
Yeah, if you listen to his read-in, it's like 6 minutes long, and he gets so yeah. He's making bank just by reading those at the beginning.
Right, like if that was paying the mortgage, then I definitely we'd be delving into this thing. Well,
yeah, exactly. If you want more podcasts, pay my mortgage.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think. So we're getting back into it, and we're finally getting a little bit of help.
Yeah,
financial help, I think, with this. Yeah. So, do we want to say like what?
Yeah, let's say it. Right. Go ahead.
It's
we're going to be the Performance Podcast. The Performance Podcast brought to you by the National Sports Performance Association. So we're really excited about the organization. That we've put together. We've put some of the original content together for. We think the mission aligns like perfectly with what the Performance Podcast is about, right? Real coaches talking to people who like legitimately are experts in their craft, and that's what the NSPA is doing, right? They're gathering like Dose on program design, Lee Taft, the best speed guy in the world, Chris Moore, one of the best sports nutrition guys in the world, right? Advised tons of like high level athletes, and
Will
Fleming,
right? Who one of the best weightlifting guys in the world.
Okay, right? So but we actually do it, right? Lee's got a place he coaches. Dose has been a coach for longer than anybody, right? Since '89, right? So
I think the important thing is it's one of those things where we're not like just it's not a it's awesome because we get to be sponsored by a company that we love. I mean, they're good to us. We're good to them. They do things for us. We do things for them. Pat's always been amazing to us. And, but at the same time, it's not changing our format or anything.
No.
I mean, we're still going to be a little politically incorrect. There might be a few F-bombs here and there. So
Exactly.
we're not handcuffed at all. It wasn't any stipulations as far as what we can talk or who we can have on and that kind of stuff.
And we're going to still interview people. We're going to have our normal like conversations. We're going to answer questions from anybody who listens, all that kind of stuff. So
exactly.
You just might notice that the production quality might bump, or we might like, we're going to have video now, right? And logo might look cooler or something like that. So just little stuff like that. But we're really excited to have the NSPA.
I like the logo. I mean, I get it.
We'll just toss an NSPA in the corner, something like that.
Yeah,
Brought to you by,
exactly. So, maybe that'll be on his singlet.
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're excited about it. I think it's really cool. So that's been the impetus to bring it back. We've talked. I mean, honestly, like there hasn't been a week that goes by that I'm like, hey, you want to do a podcast? Or Dose is like, hey, somebody told me we should do a podcast. Let's do a podcast. So we pitched the idea to the NSPA and Pat, and he was all for it. So. Which is another show that he's like committed to bringing really great resources to coaches, right? Because we try to interview good coaches and people that you haven't necessarily heard from before. We've had, Mike Uden, who on the show, right, was one of our more recent guests in the last year, a little over a year ago. And Mike is somebody you wouldn't hear about because he's not like just destroying social media or whatever, but he's legitimately producing the best baseball players in the country, and training them from like middle school through high school into the draft, right? So
these aren't just like I just picked up a guy that wants to start training because there might be a prospect. These are guys you've been training since the 6th grade. And 7 of them just got taken in the last draft. And
and he's got like the number one, 2, and 3 like softball recruits, great volleyball players. So like Mike, right? So we're talking to like. We want to find coaches like that, these awesome coaches. And the other thing about Mike, you talk about like the 10 people or 100 people that already have all 3 of the NSPA certs. Mike's one of them, right? So I mean, that's what we're after. So we're after like talking to those people. We're not after the people who have the best blog, right? So it's cool if you have a great blog. I want to have a great blog, but sometimes it's really hard to do.
It tends to be there tends to be that little relationship with the Insta famous or the that thing with the actual coaching. It tends to be a little inverse there, I think. Right?
Yeah.
So
we were talking about that, right? There's like become one of our big things, right?
We've talked about this a lot, right? We talked about like the concept of the guru, right? The online trainer. The online business coach, the online social media coach, and what's kind of cool. And we said this, before we started, was it's kind of nice actually. I'm seeing a little backlash against that. I'm seeing people kind of speaking up against that and saying, hey, who are these guys? They're which is good. I mean, people are actually now starting to filter stuff and maybe starting to look and educate themselves or go to one of these, feel good weekend deals and pay $2,000 or whatever they pay for and come back and go, wow, that like nothing happened. Like this is amazing. It's just a bunch of social media people just kind of patting each other on the backs.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, and we thought, because obviously what the search costs money, takes time. We're preaching something and we're teaching something, but we think it's pretty worthwhile, and in comparison, they're going to be able to take that stuff that they learned from UI, Chris, Lee, and use it with their clients, get better at their craft, right? Make more money, whatever their goals are. So we're not selling snake oil here, but I think it's nice that I'm starting to see a little bit of backlash. I'm seeing online trainers kind of getting called out a little bit online, these business coaches who have never been a successful business person. I mean, that's insanity.
Right.
Like, I don't even understand that, and that's why I understand why people like Alan and Rachel Cosgrove might get a little peeved at that. They have a coaching group with coaching members that run successful gyms all over the world because they did that. They started from scratch, literally a hole in the wall into something that's known all over the world. So to me, I'm going to go to them for business advice, just like I'm going to go to, my go-to real estate guy when it comes to figuring out, comps and stuff in my neighborhood. Like I don't know this stuff. I could try to do some research on it and be okay at it, but I'm going to go to the expert. If I want to learn something about speed, I'm calling Lee.
Yeah.
If I got a question about the plyo step, I'm going to him. It's there has to be that's I think there's a faction of people on the internet that's kind of worked to kind of make that invalid. Like say like, oh, why? We can learn this stuff. It's like people go, why would I pay for a membership site when there's plenty of resources online for free? I can just search, websites and blogs and find training programs. And I need a volleyball jump program. I could find one online. Why would I pay somebody to, Well, I mean, there are people that do this for a living and they're experts at it. And this is what they do. And the concept of somebody making money all of a sudden became like, whoa. Well, you want money from me? Like, whoa, you mean you want all my time and my energy and my work that I worked a long time for nothing? It's a weird concept that we wouldn't expect that in any other field, but in this field, it's okay, to say, I could find that stuff for free, or I could Google that.
I mean, the other thing about the online thing is like, I don't think it's going away, but it will whittle down because I read something, because we have this interconnectedness, and you just mentioned instances in where you'd say, hey, I want to learn about this, I'm going to go to this person, right?
Right.
And because it's not okay to just be a pretty good person in your area, right? You have to, because it's really connected. I have online weightlifting clients from Australia, from England, had them from Thailand, and all across the country and stuff like that. So, people will seek out someone that they really connect to, and so but I think people are now understanding those people have to produce in person too, right? So they can't just be a theoretical coach. They have to actually coach. So, obviously, won Masters, Nationals, and weightlifting, set 3 national records. Some Masters weightlifters like, hey, can you help me? Right? You know how to do this, right? So, and so it's not hard for them to go seek me out. But there's other people out there who are probably saying, "Oh, I'm the best Masters weightlifting coach," but they're 23 years old and have never competed in weightlifting, or coached 2 people or something, right? So,
exactly.
And then,
but that's the filter, right? That's the thing, being able to make educated decisions and who am I going to go to. And what's it worth? Not everybody can have an opinion, but they're not all worth the same.
Yeah, they're not all worth the same. Yeah,
they're definitely not worth the same. So
and opinions have to be backed up by facts and provable things, right? That's like it's not feelings. Feelings don't run the place, right?
Exactly. So I think that we're seeing a little bit of maybe a questioning of that now, which is kind of cool. Yeah. We should always be questioning that shit. I mean, it freaks me out. I think it takes away from the coaches that are really doing it, the Udens and the guys that grind, and we don't really hear about it. We don't see it, but the guys in there, the guy might have done 12 sessions yesterday.
Yeah.
Like we don't, that's who I want to go to. His livelihood depends on how good he is at his craft.
Not how good he is at social media. Because if you get really, really good at social media, how are you still also good at coaching? You only have so much time in a day. That's
what I'm saying. Ooh, we just got video bombed right there. You see that? Somebody's
there's Dr. True, chiropractor extraordinaire, probably.
So I think that's cool. I think it's cool that's happening. It's healthy. And maybe at some point, we can, kind of rid the world of that. Now, I don't think we should rid the world of it, but I mean, we need to pare it down. It's a little bit out of control, and honestly, the whole concept of these life coaches or relationship specialists who are divorced, I don't get it. How does that even work? You have these things where somebody's a life coach, I get it. If you got all your stuff dialed in and you were eating out of trash cans and now you're chilling on the raft in your pool and you've got all this income streams coming in from everywhere and you own all these properties and you figured it out because you grinded and did all this stuff, maybe that might be a pretty good life coach. You can tell me, hey, what'd you do to get to here? But most of these guys and girls, they haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
Their income stream is people buying into them selling them bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, that's the whole concept of snake oil salesman, right? Like, I'm going to get rich off of, you know, being shady,
Yeah.
you know, and shysting you out of all your money. So, yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about this one, but, you know, I think we've always kind of reflected that in the stuff we've talked about, and we've always kind of had a buyer beware kind of thing and told people that, you know, getting into it. And obviously we're in it a little bit, right? Because we have search and that kind of stuff, but I feel great about it. I sleep like a baby. I don't feel like I've ever taken advantage of anybody,
right?
You know, and if anything, I think it's too cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
To be honest with you, you know, but yeah, you know,
did we have?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Did we have any questions that we want to?
Yes, I got a couple on Instagram. So I'm pulling up right here. Okay. So this one's interesting because Brandon Marcello just posted something. If anybody knows Brandon, he's one of the smartest people. He's also a Chris Frankel and Mike Boyle doppelganger.
True.
This coach Rob Gray says the cost benefit of eccentric focused / pause reps in strength training for athletic performance versus weightlifting. I'm assuming is he saying weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting, you think?
I don't know.
Or is he just talking about like lifting? Because the eccentric, I mean, we think about the eccentric, the pause and the eccentric, obviously I'm not equating that to weightlifting.
Right.
All right. I'm thinking you could do some stuff there, but
yeah.
I think this is what I'm seeing it as. What's the cost benefit of eccentric focus pause reps in strength training? Okay, let's just kind of focus on that, because I think it's twofold, right? We already know like all the injuries happen, you know, during the load, you know, the eccentric, the landings and stuff like that, right? So we have to establish that strength. So having the strength is great, but then that's what, you know, a lot of the hop and stops and drills that we use to decelerate in our chaos series and all that stuff would work. But I also think there's a benefit in the weight room to do some pause stuff, some slow eccentric stuff to get. I think about that. I was saying the other day, if there's one category movement, you just posted something today about like the essential movements, right? And you had like vertical pulling, horizontal pulling. And I say, you know, if you're limited to just, you don't have pulley systems, pull downs, risers, something that you could physically load up a stack and pull down on, that vertical pulling might actually be off the table for some people, because if you've ever tried to spot a 350-pound guy that doesn't have the strength and the 3-inch band doesn't even budge them, like at some point they're better off working the eccentric parts of it or just really doing a ton of horizontal pulling. So I'm okay with there being a little bit of a, you know, not an unevenness there.
And a practical balance, right?
Exactly. So, but going a step further, I think it's more beneficial for, you know, the people that can't do a pull-up or can do one. They get a lot of strength by us, you know, doing, you know, get up there and then eccentrically load it down, get up there, pause, eccentrically lower it down. I think you get a lot out of that. And I think we see people increase the reps or get to their first rep or their second, third, fourth rep faster by doing that kind of training.
Yeah.
The cost, soreness, right? I mean, the cost is going to be that for sure if you're doing any of that.
And the other cost is like when you start like writing that program and you're like 3-3-0 tempo, like 3 seconds down, 3 seconds pause. Every rep takes 6 seconds, and like, did you program it correctly? Do you go, hey, I got an hour with these guys, but I program like sets of 5 sets of 10. And each set takes a minute, and then they got to rest, and like it's like, okay, you're just squatting today, right? You know, if you did that, so right, yeah. So you have to balance that in your program. The
time, that's great. That's a great point. The time factor is going to be huge too. You know, we'll do it to make, you know, say we're going from 10s down to 5, say on like a TRX row, right? We'll do stuff like 1.5 rep or a pause hold with slow eccentric to make it tougher. So it will lengthen the set, but our volume's generally lower with that anyway.
Exactly.
I know talking to Dewey Nielsen, when doing a lot of stuff with jiu-jitsu, they do a lot of pause stuff, right? So because they have to really hold those end ranges for a long period of time and have that kind of strength, that endurance to hold that static contraction. So there's going to be specificity issues there too as well. So Yeah, I think maybe I just not getting the question completely, but I think it's really important. And I know, like I said, if you want to look up Brandon Marcello on Twitter, it just posted something about they did some testing on eccentric strength in people that have had groin and hamstring injuries, and it was off the charts, weaker compared to normal, the uninjured people. So it's like chicken or the egg thing. Is it because of the injury, or is it because of that they got injured? Right.
Well,
so
isn't there some recent research on like the Nordic hamstring curl, like with some level of eccentric, and I can't remember what the count was, reducing hamstring injuries in soccer players by 80% or something like that, right? So there's,
I mean, it makes sense, right?
We know that the injuries occur during the eccentric phase of most things, right? So we got to have the eccentric strength. So the cost of not doing it is pretty huge, right? The benefit
exactly.
is really big.
I mean, just in general, I think we're still seeing in a lot of programs that you'll look at, D1 programs, that one of your kids might go off to school and send you back their program. You're still going to see a majority of the time that inequality in the posterior
exactly
and the front, right? We're going to see non-mirror muscles still not getting there.
When you've done eccentrics in training, do you do it in a particular phase? Because we always we'll have phase with tens or something like that, but it could be tens, or it could be pauses, or it could be eccentrics or something like that. It's just like a time under tension phase for me, right?
Right.
So that's how I typically use them and we do that. We do that with our athletes. We do that with our weightlifters. We do it with everybody, right?
Yeah. You guys are like pausing at the knee and stuff, right? I mean,
and that's that's more technical, but if we're doing a weightlifting program and an athlete really needs more squatting strength, we'll do a bunch of tempo stuff. We'll do 3 seconds down, 3 seconds pause, first rep, set of 5, stuff like that, or 5 seconds down or something like that. When the pause is like in actual positions where we're doing isometric stuff, that's more like, do you know where you are, right? Do you have a command of the bar in space? But like on squats, RDLs, all that like strength building stuff, presses overhead, we'll do like some tempo work.
Well, and you might have a specificity thing there too, right? Because I remember I just watched a video, a Maddie Rogers video, where she did like a double on her snatches. And the first one, she popped up out of the hole like nothing, right? So obviously she had all that elasticity and everything off the catch. So I think it was like 100 kilos too. Yeah. She's a monster. The second one, she just got pinned. I mean, she must have been down there for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So obviously all the elasticity is gone, right? So now you got to generate some kind of force from that awful position and that, basically grazing the ground at that point. So yeah, that makes sense, from a performance standpoint for sure. But yeah, from an injury prevention standpoint, it's critical. If you're not doing something to address that eccentric loading, that's an issue. And I told even the trainers this past weekend, talk about explosive training being important across the board. I don't care if you're 18 or 80, right? Like that has to be. It's going to look different, but that ability to decelerate, right, can keep my mom from missing that last step on the stairs. Definitely. Right, so maybe now she doesn't fall, because if she falls, probably going to be some problems there.
Yeah,
if she falls on her wrist or knee or something. Okay, so let's see. Let me get another question here. Effective formats for group classes with access to a wide variety of equipment, i.e., ultimate sandbag, TRX, sleds, ropes, balls, kettlebells, etc.
I'd love to hear you answer that, because in our group chat, you guys are like next level group training stuff, like talking you and Josh right now. So I'm interested to hear this.
That's easy, because it ends up being you usually get limited, right, by I think of a Nike NTC class and the girls in the park in New York, and there's 500 people and there's no equipment. Now you gotta MacGyver this and be like, or you could just gas everybody.
Get the paper clip out of your pocket, 2 rubber bands, and a balloon.
If I gotta push, pull, knee dominant, hip dominant, do some core, like I'd have to be strategic. But if I have all those things that he just said, it's pretty easy. So now I say you follow the rules, because there are rules, right, for work and rest. And I'm a huge proponent of time sets. I think time sets is the future, especially when we talk about anything circuit based in a group class, for sure, because it keeps people dialed in, it keeps them honest. You can coach on the downtime when everybody's resting, and you can, correct stuff that you saw during that work bout as people are rotating to the next thing. So, anything that's, I always say negative rest is just doesn't really work with human beings.
Yeah.
We can do it, but the concept of AMRAPs is, we see it in the CrossFit games, and I love to watch that, but they're not normal. You know what I mean? It's just not. That's not a way for us to build work capacity. They have tremendous work capacity already from all their training, and just the fact that they can hover around, they can bounce around at that 90 for much longer than it seems like normal human beings can. Right. So to be able to carry a sandbag 300 yards and then do a 1 rep max snatch or something, it just doesn't make much sense for normal people. Right. But it's very entertaining. But I think as long as you have realistic work rest ratios, even if it's 30-30 or 20-40, or something that's going to give you a chance to regenerate some power, get a little more energy back, so that we can duplicate the effort multiple times. You're going to get a drop off, but what we see a lot in those crazy 50-10s and 45-15s is the drop off is dramatic from Jump Street, from the beginnings, the second time and the third time. By the time you're 10 minutes in, it's just aerobic slop. Yeah. Right? You're not able to do anything sharp anymore. How high you're jumping is, it's not. It's a fraction.
Stair sprints are like stair walks.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just to keep things realistic, realistic it would be just kind of follow basic guidelines of work rest periods. We don't have time to get into that, but I think I have another one here. Here we go. If you only have access to a quote gym once a week, and the other days are doing stuff at home with minimal equipment, maybe cardio strength workouts at home, and one heavy power training type day at the gym? ? So, do you have anybody that comes in and does a set like one session with a trainer a week?
No, most people are 2. Even our 1 time a week people get 1 open gym day as well, right? So they can 1 time with a trainer, 1 open gym, because it's almost unrealistic to expect them to get any results if they're only doing 1 workout a week, right? So that's our equation of 168 hours, right?
Paying a trainer.
Yeah, and then one day then
create a plan another couple times a week on their own.
Yeah,
doing a similar thing. Yeah, but I think this is this is kind of opposite of that other question, right? This is a pretty handcuffed situation. So I think he's asking, what should you do on that strength workout, and what should you do on the other days? It just depends on what you're able to do on those other days. If it's just body weight stuff, then I'd be doing cardio strength HIIT type stuff on those other days. Get in the park and do some sprints, and that's when you gotta rely on the body weight stuff, and hopefully have a TRX or something so you're able to pull, because that's what usually gets left off the table first. And then I would try to lift heavy stuff on that day that you're in the gym, and take advantage of all this equipment that you have, whether it's kettlebells and sandbags and barbells and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. I still would probably do more of a metabolic resistance training style workout on that day, just to get a lot of bang and a lot of, because we say, Josh and I are playing around with his heavily loaded 15-45s, which is basically an EMOM, right? Yeah. You're basically saying every minute on the minute, I'm going to try to get 5 to 8 reps of any of these things, right? Well, at that point you say, I want to make sure EMOMs are great till your EMOM exercise takes more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Then all shit breaks loose, right? then you're in trouble. It's even like doing the clean and press test. If you're doing something and it's going past that 30, your chance of success the next minute and the next minute is going to significantly, drop.
Yeah.
So that's why we say 15. Find a weight that you can. If you can't get 5, it's too heavy. If you can get more than 8, it's too light. And then let's try to really bang them out and be strategic as to what exercise we're doing, whether it's a max lunge or maybe weighted chin-ups or maybe dumbbell bench press or maybe a hang muscle snatch or something, like piecing in all the components, but mandating the rest, right? It's almost like when somebody says, when you're a kid and you just do, your dad says, do this, and you're like, why? And you're like, and he says, because I told you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just saying, why do I have to rest 45? Because I'm telling you to rest 45. You're going to thank me later. It's still not going to, it's not, and after a while, I'm going to feel it. So I think that's the way to go, because it really does get the morph of the two, the metabolic and the strength training. So that's kind of what I would do on that one day in the gym. And then the other days I'd mix it up, whether it's longer duration stuff, spin class, getting apart, crawling, jumping jacks, burpees. I don't know. It's tough. When you say one, it's like that question. If you only had one piece of equipment, what would you use? If you had one exercise or you had one food, but we don't. We're never gonna. Yeah. I mean, even
this
Tom
guy
Hanks had
changed
more
his
than
parameters on us. Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah. So, I think that's it for the questions I got.
Sweet. Well, hey, we're back. At least for now. So
we're back. Yeah. And we're gonna have a schedule, guys. So we are. This is not a.
Yeah, we're recording on Wednesday afternoons or late Wednesday morning for Dose, Wednesday afternoon for me. And unless one of us is traveling or whatever, so we're gonna try and bank a few and get ahead a little bit. So even on the weeks that one of us might travel or whatever, we'll have some stuff together, and we'll start. We're gonna start lining up interviews. We wanted to literally today check. Does our microphone sound good? Does it sound, all that kind of stuff? So we want to check all that.
This is the test. This is the test episode, really.
This is really a test episode.
And I think it's cool because this would have been cool if we started it a few weeks ago, because then, I could have been in a beer garden in Warsaw, Poland, doing this when doing the traveling, or in New York or whatever. So I think that's kind of cool too, especially now that you're gonna see the background. Yeah. It's not a green screen. This is real back here. So
we do it pretty light.
We're not cool stuff.
We're not, huge equipment guys. I have this little mic that I don't even need because, Dose even sounds pretty good on just the headphones. So, we'll be portable.
Because now we might get
100 comments. So 100 comments. Fix your audio, right? That's always my favorite. This is great. I loved all the information. It's my favorite podcast. But
I love that it's free.
Yeah, but if your audio doesn't improve, I'll never listen again, and I'll find your home, stuff like that. So, thanks. I love the feedback.
Yeah, right.
So
it's great.
We're gonna make it better. Great. So, anyways, Dose next week. I'll see you again.
Good stuff, man.
And thanks for listening to the Performance Podcast, The Return Part 3. See you.
Right on.
All right, bye.
Bye, bye.